The allure of freedom can be intoxicating, a siren call that promises endless possibilities but sometimes leaves you adrift in a sea of regret. My name is Ava, and this is the story of how I chased a dream of independence, believing it would define me, only to lose the one person whose love was my anchor. It started on a serene Sunday morning in our cozy kitchen. I was draped in his oversized hoodie, the fabric soft against my skin while he stood at the stove, expertly flipping pancakes with that extra splash of vanilla he always added just to see me smile. For a brief moment, the world felt perfect, warm, safe, and complete. But beneath that fleeting tranquility, a restless undercurrent stirred within me, impossible to shake. At 27, after 4 years together, I felt the world shifting around me. Friends were chasing new careers, relocating to bustling cities, and sharing stories of fleeting romances that sparkled with excitement. My life, by contrast, felt like it was frozen in place, a still life in a world of motion. Doubts began to whisper in my mind, soft at first, then relentless. Is this really enough? Am I ready to commit forever? How can I know he's the one when I've never ventured beyond our shared world? Those questions grew like vines, tangling my thoughts. My best friend Leah fanned the flames of my uncertainty. She was a whirlwind of spontaneity. New lovers every few weeks, impromptu trips to far-off places, stories that made my predictable routine feel like a faded photograph. "You need to live a little before you settle," she'd say, her words dripping with conviction. "Otherwise, you'll always wonder what you missed." Her advice sank deep, planting seeds of doubt that sprouted into restless longing. Micah, my partner, was her polar opposite. Steady as a heartbeat, unwavering in his devotion. He painted our future with vivid certainty. A charming house with a wraparound porch, a playful dog, 2 children running through a garden bursting with color. Once I'd clung to that vision, finding comfort in its warmth. But lately it felt like a cage, its walls pressing closer with every passing day. One evening, after a party where I watched strangers connect with effortless chemistry, the dam broke. Over dinner I blurted out, "I think we need to explore other paths." Micah's fork stopped mid-air, his face a mask of disbelief. He thought I was joking. I wasn't. When he pressed me for a reason, I stumbled through my explanation. I didn't know who I was outside of us. I needed to find myself, to test the waters, to be certain I wasn't settling too soon. I'd rehearsed those words in my head 1,000 times, but nothing could have braced me for his response. There was no outburst, no tears, just a quiet devastation in his eyes, like I'd shattered something irreplaceable. He didn't fight me or beg. He simply said, "If that's what you want, I won't stand in your way." A week later, I moved into a tiny apartment with creaky floors and mismatched furniture. It was far from perfect, but it was mine, and I convinced myself this was bravery, a step toward growth. At first, the freedom was exhilarating. I dove into the world of dating apps, went on impulsive dates, shared awkward kisses with strangers who didn't know I preferred my coffee black, or that I cried at the simplest animated movies. I told myself this was the life I'd been craving, the adventure I'd been denied. But the spark faded quickly, leaving me hollow. No one laughed at my oddball humor the way Micah did. No one knew I liked my eggs over easy, never scrambled. No one saw me the way he had, with a gaze that felt like home. Every date blurred into the next, and I found myself comparing them to him. Their smiles too forced, their gestures too stiff, their silences too empty. Worst of all, Micah didn't call. I'd braced myself for messages, maybe even him showing up at my door, pleading for another chance. I'd imagined that moment, but it never came. He was gone, and the silence was deafening. A month later, unable to resist, I checked his social media. That's when I saw her. Dani, with her chestnut hair and a smile that radiated calm joy. They were at a jazz club downtown, a place I'd always brushed off as too tame. She leaned into him, comfortable, like she'd always been there. My heart sank, a sickening lurch. I told myself it was temporary, a rebound to ease his pain. Surely he'd realize she wasn't me. But he didn't. By the 3rd month I stopped dating altogether. The bars and parties lost their allure. I spent nights curled up in bed, scrolling through old photos. Our impromptu road trips, our goofy selfies, the time we danced to a song only we understood in the glow of the kitchen lights. I drafted texts to him. Hey, just checking in, but deleted them every time. Made my choice. It wanted this space. Then came the engagement photo. Leia forwarded it with a casual, "Did you see this?" There he was kneeling by the lake we used to visit every summer, the water shimmering behind him. Danny stood there glowing, tears in her eyes, a ring sparkling on her finger. A ring I'd once dreamed would be mine. I didn't cry at first. I just stared, frozen as if the world had paused. Then the tears came, quiet at first, then a flood. I sobbed until my throat burned, clinging to the kitchen counter to keep from falling apart. Micah hadn't just moved on. He'd built a new life I no longer fit into. And I was left here, drowning in the void I'd carved out, chasing a version of more that never existed. The worst part wasn't the loss. It was his happiness. I couldn't resent him for it because I'd been the one to push him away. I'd wanted to explore, to discover myself. But no one warns you that freedom can be a trap, a door that slams shut, leaving you alone while the person you thought would wait has moved forward. 7 months later, I'm still in that same cramped apartment. My friends have stopped mentioning him, assuming I've moved on. Smile. A nod. But every time I pass the bakery where we shared lazy Sunday mornings or hear the song we danced to, the pain resurfaces, sharp and unyielding. He's engaged now, building the future we once planned. I'm still searching for the more I thought I needed, but it feels like chasing shadows. So, here's my caution to you. If you have someone who loves you fully, who shows up every day, who listens, who grows with you, hold them close. Don't let them slip away for the sake of fleeting possibilities. Sometimes exploring other paths is just another way to lose the one person who truly mattered. And some losses, I've learned, echo in your heart forever.